This tutorial will show how to pull a report from Encore and format the Excel spreadsheet that is created so that you can analyze the data you have been recording. Once the Excel spreadsheet is formatted, you will be able to see if you've entered baseline data correctly, if you're up to date with your daily ABC and intervention tracking, if the ABC and intervention data has been entered correctly, and then also how the students on your focus list have been performing since you began providing interventions. This will help determine best practices so you know what interventions are working. Perhaps some data trends will be obvious, but they aren't always. You may look at the data and see something is working better than you expected, and that can help guide you in your future interventions. This specific video is going to focus on pulling the report and then formatting the Excel spreadsheet so that you can look at the data. A future video will show you how to analyze your data. Log on to Encore. Go to Reporting, Submit Reports, Promise Fellow Reporting. Choose Member Combination. The Member Combination report combines all of your data for your focus list students into one report, so you don't have to run a report for each student. Select the month you want to view data for. For the most up-to-date data, choose the current month. You can ignore the rest of these fields. Run a report. When the report shows up, you can then export to an Excel spreadsheet. The first thing you'll do when your Excel spreadsheet opens up is enable editing. Also note that there are 3 sheets on the bottom: attendance, behavior, and academics. For each sheet, column A through W will be the same. They're just going to vary from W onward depending on if you're looking at attendance, behavior, or academics. When Encore exports to Excel, the formatting gets a little messed up, so we're going to start by cleaning that up a bit. Start by unfreezing the worksheet. So you do this by clicking this triangle in the upper left-hand corner. Going to View, Freeze Panes, Unfreeze Panes. Now you can delete these first 6 rows. You do that by clicking 1, dragging to 6, right-click, delete. For columns, we're going to start by deleting column A and B, then column C and D. E always gets really small, but it's there, and you can just delete it. And then delete column H. You can see that column G has become really scrunched at the start date. So what you can do to fix that is go to the top, and where you see that expand symbol over between G and H, double click, then Excel will format it so that data fits. Next, you're going to apply a filter. Filters are helpful for when you have a whole bunch of data and you just want to focus in on a section, or you just want to organize your data. So what you do is you're going to select row 5, go to Home, Sort and Filter, Filter. So then these little drop-down menus pop up. And so again, this is helpful so you can sort your data alphabetically. If you just want to pull a couple students to look at, you can do something like that. So it's helpful once your focus list is growing. If you just want to look at a certain student and how they've been doing, filters are really helpful. The last tip we're going to go over is how to freeze panes. This is important because you can see that as you scroll over, there's a ton of information, and as you're scrolling, you no longer see the name or the start date. And both of those are really important to be able to see when you're looking at data, because it gives you both the student you're looking at and then a frame of reference for like how many days you should have interventions for. And so it's important to be able to see that start date to see if you're up to date on your tracking, and if your data makes sense. So maybe if there are some errors in your data, you'll be able to see it with the reference of the start date. We're also able to freeze so that when we scroll down and we have more and more focus list students, that those headers stay in place. And so the way that you do that is you choose the cell that is below the last row that you want to stay frozen and to the right of the last column you want to stay frozen. So in this case, it's H6, because that's below the headers and to the right of start date. Then you're going to go to View, Freeze Panes, Freeze Panes. Now as you scroll over, you can see that all the information up to start date is frozen. And as you scroll down, you can see that those headers stay in place. Alright, so your attendance spreadsheet has now been formatted properly. So the next thing you will have to do is go through and do the exact same thing to behavior and academics. So it might seem like a lot, but really you're doing the same thing every time. You're starting by unfreezing the whole pane, and delete the first few rows, start deleting columns, apply a filter, and then freezing the panes so you can see those headers and all the information up to start date. So really, once you get the pattern down, it goes quick, and it's incredibly helpful to be able to analyze your data, to find those best practices, see the interventions that have been working, and make sure that your baseline data is entered correctly. And in our next video, you're going to be able to see how you actually do all that, how you analyze your data.